Mike Carpenter here. Welcome back to For the Meeple, by the Meeple. Today we are looking at World Without End. This game has the fortune and misfortune of being the board game equivalent of a sequel to a fan favorite, Pillars of the Earth. Because of this, a lot of people are going to give World Without End a look. However, it also brings high expectations for this game. Let's see if it meets those standards. This is the board for World Without End. As you can see, there is a lot going on this board. First, there are 7 locations around the board that are outlined and will tell you where to place project pieces, such as the hospital or the tower. These will be put in play based on event cards that are played throughout the game. At the beginning of each game, you are going to start with the bridge project already in play. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to receive a shield in their color. They are also going to receive 4 houses, 2 donation markers, 1 wool, and 2 gold. However, there are several resources in this game, such as the standard resources like cloth, stone and lumber, and grain. But there are also some unique resources in this game, such as favor with the king, represented by a crown, medical knowledge, represented by small blue books, and piety, represented by a statue. Players will also receive 12 action cards each. These action cards will give the players an opportunity to do things such as take 1 grain, take 1 piety, sell any amount of wool and or 1 cloth at the market, and various other things that have to do with the different types of resources in the game. World Without End is played over the course of 4 ages. These ages are represented by event cards. Each age will have 11 possible cards, but only 6 will be drawn for each game. At the beginning of each player's turn, they're going to reveal the top card from the current age and place it in this diamond at the top of the board. These cards make seating arrangements very important in the game because each player is going to need to sit directly out from one of the points in the diamond. That is because on each of these cards there are 4 resources available to be given to each of the players. So if a player was sitting directly out from this point of the diamond, he would receive a wool. The player to his right would receive 1 victory point, the player to his left would receive a grain, and the player directly across from him would receive $1. However, the player can orient this card however he desires. So in this case, maybe he needs some money, so he would orient the card like this. However, that's also going to position this red arrow next to the 3. That 3 represents how many spaces the marker is going to move on the favor track. This is the favor track at the bottom of the board. The city council space, or the diamond we looked at the top of the board, works directly with this track. The marker begins on the leftmost outlaw space, but as players are orienting the cards throughout the game, this marker will move based on what number the red arrow indicates. So in the example earlier, we were to move the marker 3 spaces, landing this player on the merchants, and he would receive 1 wool. However, there are several different spaces on the track, such as earning 1 grain. You can earn as many points as you have piety resources. You can just simply earn a piety. You may gain 2 points for it if you have at least 1 favor with the king. There are several routes you can take with this tracker. However, there are bad spaces, such as landing on the outlaws. You will lose $1. So as you are orienting your card, understanding where you're going to land adds to the strategy of orienting the card and giving your opponents resources throughout the game. If the marker ever gets to the bottom of the track on the right side, it will simply loop back around to the left side and begin the process again. There is also an area on the board that allows players to build the houses they receive at the beginning of the game. One of the 12 action cards allows a player to spend either a stone or a lumber to build one of the houses in the corresponding space. Players may build all 4 houses throughout the game, but they may not build two houses in spaces that provide the same resource. Players receive these resources by playing one of the other 12 action cards on another turn. Players also start the game with 2 donation markers. Players may pay $1 to place 1 marker on any project that is in play but not complete. If that project is then completed, each player who has a donation marker on the project will receive the benefit that is listed at that site. So in this case, the blue player would receive 1 victory point and 3 gold. This action is done with the donation action card. Each of the 4 ages in World Without End is played over the course of 6 rounds. Each round is broken down into 5 steps. The first step is for the active player to reveal the top card of the event deck. The player will resolve any immediate or long-term effects of that card. Once that is done, the player will then orient the card in the city council space however they wish. Step 3 is for the players to then take the resource that is in their corner of the card. And step 4 is for the active player to look at the number that the red arrow is pointed at and move the marker on the favor track that many spaces. Only the active player is affected by where the marker is on the favor track. Step 5 involves the action cards that we looked at earlier. Players are going to look through their 12 cards and decide which card they would like to play face up. This is done starting with the active player first, so in this case they play the resource card and take one of the resource cubes from the board. It has to be stone or lumber. And then they look at the remaining 11 cards in their hand and discard 1 card face down. Play then moves to the player on the left. He or she plays one card and then discards 1 card, and play continues until it gets back to the original first player. Once the play gets back to the first player, he or she is going to look at whether the event card is brown or blue. If the card is brown, they're going to discard it immediately. If the card is blue, they're going to move it to the top of the board. That is a long-term effect that will affect the players throughout the rest of this age. If there is ever a second blue card, it will be placed in this spot, and a third card will remove the first blue card, and so on. Once players have done all 5 steps for each of the 6 rounds, they're going to come upon this final card. It's a summary card that tells them how to end the current round and set up for the second round. So in this case, there is typically an X on the cloth market at the beginning of the game. The summary card will always have you remove this X, and players will then be allowed to start selling their wool and cloth at the cloth market. This is done by using one of the 12 action cards that you start the game with. Players are going to be collecting medical knowledge throughout the game from various things, like the event cards or the favor track. However, this medical knowledge does not become important until the 3rd age. Before the 3rd age begins, players are going to randomly place these black tokens on small spaces indicated on the board. During the 3rd and 4th round, when players reveal event cards, there's going to be a small house and a number on each of these cards now. That number tells the players which of the tokens to reveal. These tokens have a number 1 through 5 on them, and players are going to need as many medical knowledge books as the number on the token to heal that house and receive 2 victory points immediately, and the benefit that is beside each of these pictures. So in this case, the player would receive a cloth from the supply. Players do not turn in the medical knowledge pieces when they heal a house. They just simply hold on to it and then continue gathering medical knowledge so that they are able to then reveal some of the higher amounts of medical knowledge necessary to heal the houses. Players may only heal a house 1 time. Once the house is healed, the token is removed from the board and play continues. This action is done by playing one of the 12 action cards in the deck called Medicine. At the end of each age, players are also going to have to perform 3 mandatory duties. These duties include paying 2 piety, 2 grain, and a random die roll represents how much money will have to be paid to the king. There is also a penalty for not completing any number of these duties. However, a player may use any number of crowns or favors with the king to basically cancel the mandatory duty penalty. Once players have completed all 4 ages, players will look to see if they have any stone or wood left and score 1 victory point per cube, and they will score 1 victory point per 2 gold they still have. That is the only form of end of game scoring in the game. Once that is complete, the player who is furthest along on the scoring track is the winner. Let me start by saying that World Without End is a good game. There's nothing in this game that is broken, and there's nothing that is so thematically illogical that it ruins the experience. However, I do have one major concern with the game, but I have one really big positive also. First, the concern. While it seems as though there is variable setup in the game because you have 11 cards for each age, and then you draw 6, and they're different from game to game, the cards don't do all that much to change it. One major thing that they do is put out different projects from game to game, and truthfully, each of those projects play exactly the same, no matter which ones you are putting out. The only project that is a little bit different is the tower, because there is a bonus associated with it. However, the tower's put into play every game, so you're fighting over that bonus from game to game no matter what. Now, the positive of this game. The city council space where you orient the event cards and the favor track that it works with so perfectly really do keep the players engaged. Not only on their own turn, but on everyone else's turn. Because on my own turn, I may be trying to decide exactly how to get the 2 resources I need the most, but I also have to take into consideration, what am I giving my opponents? Is that something that's going to hurt me in the long run? Is it something that's going to make their strategy so easier to implement? Is it going to give them a point that then puts them maybe just a little too far ahead of me? Those decisions are definitely important. On the flip side of that, if it's not my turn and I'm watching the other player determine which one of the resources I'm going to get, it's exciting. I'm maybe waiting for or looking for a grain, and I'm hoping that they give me that and orient the card the way I need it to be done, and then they don't, and it's disappointing. But sometimes they do give you exactly what you need, and that part's exciting. It keeps the players engaged. Not only am I going to be looking at what I'm going to get, once I get my resource, I'm also then going to be looking quickly at which action card do I want to play, which action card can I play now, how am I going to put the action cards in order so that I can implement the strategy I'm trying to do. And that part of the game keeps this whole game from falling flat. Those 2 mechanisms just work so well together. Now, do I recommend this? If you like Euro games, you will probably like this game because it's very similar to the other games. It's tight. Every decision is important. There's not going to be a runaway leader for the most part from game to game. But it is a little bit samey from game to game. Like I said, it seems like it's going to be different because of the variable, the minor variable setup. But it just doesn't. It feels like I'm playing the exact same game from play to play. That can be a turnoff to some people. However, other people may see that this game really is good. You make solid decisions in it. It's not the most thematically exciting game, but the actions you are taking and the decisions you are making, especially with the action cards and the event cards, really are meaningful. They're engaging, they make you think, and they're enjoyable. So if you like Euro games, I would say try it before you buy it, just in case. If you don't like Euro games, you probably aren't going to like this game. It's very Euro. I personally think it is a good game, but it probably only fits the interest of certain groups. So give it a try if you want to. Buy it if you like it, and I hope to see you again next time. Thanks.